why I'm here in the first place is to sell you meth.
Alright, I'm going to walk you through how to install my methanol kit. If I die in the middle of making this video, don't worry about it. I've been sick for about 9 days now, so it's inevitable that I'll be dead soon. So I'll hurry up and get this done so you guys can enjoy yourselves while I'm gone. So first things first, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to prep the throttle body spacer. This is where you're going to get your boost source from and where the methanol is going to be injecting. So in the kit, when you receive it, you're going to have a full race throttle body spacer, an O-ring. Out of your AEM box that you received, you're going to have your nozzle out and then the nozzle holder itself. So if you have a stock turbo car, you don't really need anything bigger than the 500cc nozzle. So if you look at the bottom, look at the hole, you're going to grab the middle size one. The 250cc nozzle is tiny, so you'll be able to tell which one it is. And the 1000cc is basically wide open. So go ahead and separate these. These are 1/8 NPT threads. You can throw Teflon tape on it. I'm not going to do it in the video, just take too much time. I do recommend throwing some Teflon tape on it. So the position of these, the O-ring side here is going to go towards the throttle body. You're going to want the methanol nozzle to go on the right side. So you'll screw this in. This is a 9/16 wrench. If you don't have a 9/16 wrench, use an adjustable wrench, or you can put a 15 on it. Just be careful not to strip it out a little bit, round the edges off. So you'll torque this down, put on your nylon washer, maybe. Then put on the nozzle holder itself. You'll torque that down. This is, I believe this is 5/8 or 11/16. I believe it's 11/16. So you torque that down. Once those are torqued down, you'll grab your polypropylene boost source here, your boost tap, and you just tighten that down this side. This you can use Teflon tape, or you don't have to because it's polypropylene. It'll fill in all the gaps so you won't have any leaks. So this is a 12mm. So go ahead and torque that down in there. Go ahead and toss your O-ring on. Make sure it sits flush. Shake it so you know it doesn't come out. And then you're going to need the included hardware that I send with the kit. You're going to have your M6x10 80mm bolts here with the 5mm Allen head on it. These are going to be replacing the factory bolts to hold your throttle body on. So I'll move the camera over to the car and show you how to take the throttle body off. Alright, so we'll remove the throttle body off the car so we can put the spacer on. Ignore any of the lines that you see from the meth kit already. I've already ran pretty much everything. We'll get to those later. So disconnect the throttle body, pull the red tab back, or the connector for the throttle body. Red tab's back, there's a little press down here. Go press it and pull it off. And then now you have 4 8mm bolts to hold it on. I'm going to take those off real quick. There's actually 2 because I already take this thing off. Set the bolts and tools aside. Now you'll switch from an 8mm socket to a 5mm Allen head. Grab the throttle body, grab the spacer you already assembled, O-ring side to the throttle body. Go ahead and put one of the bolts through, get it started. I just like to get one started here. Once you get one started, go and toss another one in. So you line up all 4. I'm going to put in 2 for the video, just so we can move along. Once you get those on, just go ahead and torque them down. Get all 4 snug and then torque them down. So a little snug, snug, give it a little torque down. Actual torque spec for those, if you want to use a torque wrench, is going to be 13 foot-pounds. So what we'll do next is we're going to prep the tank to be mounted with my Velocitech / Tune Plus 3D printed brackets. So we'll move over to the trunk and start doing the install there. And we're also going to mount the pump next. Alright, so now we're in the trunk. I'm going to have to hold the camera on this one. There's no real good angle to get in here and show you. So in the back of the trunk, near the tail lights, you're going to have these little knobs here. So go ahead and spin them off. There's one on the bottom as well. So now you expose 2 studs. So this is where your bracket's going to go. So I'm going to grab the tank and go ahead and mount it up. Alright, so now we got the tank, which is included in your AEM box that you receive. And then here's the Velocitech Tune Plus 3D printed brackets. So I already mounted it a little bit. What you'll do is when you get the kit, lay it out here with the feet on the bottom and then the cap up on top. And then the brackets, so you know which one's top and which one's bottom, just look at the logos printed on them. So both of them are reading up and down. These need to swoop out away from the tank. This obviously won't go there, and this one obviously won't fit here. Just, you know, when you go to put it together, it's clearly wrong. So also included in your kit is going to be your bolts and hardware for this. So what you'll do is you'll take the bolt, stick the big washer on it, you put it through, take the washer. Now the washer doesn't go on the bottom here. The bottom actually goes between the bracket and the tank. It just helps keep it flat because the tank is kind of a little bit distorted here. So what you'll do is just pull back, slide that in there, then tuck it through and put the bolt on the back, or the nut on the back. So what I do now is I will give this a little tightening, just keep it fairly loose. Reason why I kind of just don't do it like this, I get it close to being tight. That's a little too much there. So you want to be able to move it around, move the brackets around a little bit. But the reason why I tighten it down a lot is just so you can clean up some of the threads, so when you're in the trunk you don't got a ton of threads to screw down. So you only need these to wiggle just a little bit, just so you have enough room. So next we'll go into the trunk and I'll show you where these mount here, and we'll get the tank mounted up inside the car. Alright, so in your kit you're going to have some M6 nuts that I supplied. These are what's going to be able to, it's going to be blurry because I can't focus it. So anyways, there's going to be 2 stainless steel nuts they're going to use to mount to these studs here. So you got one on top, one on bottom. So now you got your tank with your brackets already on it. They simply just go over the studs here. So once you get them lined up, take the nuts and you can put them inside. You're going to use a socket. Put those on there. So remember, these are going to be loose, just so you can move these brackets around. I would put the nuts on, then torque them down so the brackets stay nice and straight. Then you'll straighten your tank out, and then you go through and tighten these all up. These are 13 millimeter on both sides. So now once you do that and it's all straight, you torque them down, you're good mounting the tank. You're going to probably take it off again when you go to wiring, but this just shows you how it's going to mount. So it's easier to wire the signal wire. This is going to be for your level, because if this runs low, you need to obviously know, and it'll throw an error on the AEM controller and turn the car down. So once this is mounted, I'll probably take it off later so you can access the wires here, which are going to run to the controller. The wires will come up through the back seat, and that is all. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to set up the pump mount. So this here is the 3D printed pump mount. This is going to go in the center of your spare tire well. I'll show you that here in a second. So grab the bracket. This is going to bolt down. I'm just going to show you the hardware here. Obviously we're going to assemble this thing in the back. So in the kit, you're going to have these small, like 5 millimeter bolts here. And then you're going to have these small washers. Small washer. And these are what's going to hold the pump to the bracket. So bolt goes through. Now you have all the bolts through here. And they have all the bolts that go through the pump. itself. So these are going to go through the bracket like so. So we'll go to the back of the car and I'll show you how to bolt this down. Alright, so in the middle of the spare tire well, you're going to have this bracket that sticks up. It's got two M6 holes in it. So you're going to take the bracket. On the back side of the bracket, it'll say Velocitech and it'll say Tune Plus. This goes towards the back of the car. The print does. So what you'll do is you'll just set this inside. Line up the bolts that are included. Now when you go to tighten these down, make sure you don't crank on them. Pump doesn't actually move that much. It's mounted by rubber. So all you do is you just pretty much get these so it just touched, and then I just do kind of like a half turn. So just under a half turn actually. This one needs to be tightened back down. So now it ain't going anywhere. So now you're going to grab your pump. You already have all your bolts through. So you're going to look at the top of it and you're going to need the arrows pointing towards the driver's side of the car. Go ahead and set this inside. Bracket. Make sure all the bolts are through. And on the bottom side, you will have the small nylon locking nut. And you just kind of put that on the bottom. So you'll tighten all four of those down. Those will need to be cranked down either. Essentially, once you get it tight and you see the rubber starting to squeeze, kind of just do another half turn there, and then just make sure the pump is, solid. It's not going to go anywhere. All right, so I'm going to show you the controller next. Before we get to showing you where to route the wiring and plugging this thing in. So this is where the boost line is going to run to. This is your test button, which is going to purge the system after you get everything all hooked up. You're going to want to purge it before you actually hook everything up, just to get any of the dirt or crud in there. This is a 15 amp fuse. This is a status light here in the middle, which will blink, and these are the codes for the status light. So you have 1 blink is low fluid, 2 is an open wire, 3 is a short in a wire, 4 is voltage. So low voltage to the controller, low voltage to the battery, or just low voltage coming to either. Then 5 is the controller error. So if any of those go off, with the way that I have the boost safe / failsafe hookup, your car is going to basically not stall, it's just going to return to idle. So if you're in the middle of a pull and your low fluid error kicks on, the relay that's included with the kit is going to switch over, disconnect the feed wire from the throttle body to the ECU, so the ECU is not going to see any throttle input at all. Your pedal is going to go dead and your car is just going to return to idle. So if you're driving on the highway and you're in a manual car, just pushing the clutch, put it in neutral, go ahead and turn the AEM controller off. Once the AEM controller is off, your car will drive like normal. You will have a code or a wrench on the light or wrench on the dash until you cycle the key on and off. Once you do that, your car will be reset to normal, like nothing ever happened. If you're in an auto car, your pedal will go dead. Probably just pop it in the neutral quick, or just immediately switch the AEM controller off with the switch, and you'll be done, back to normal again. So the knobs, this is going to be your start knob. This is when methanol is going to start injecting, boost, and then it's going to be progressive until it reaches full. So whatever you set the full at. What I recommend doing is setting 6 start and 18 full. So this is a good setup for stock turbo. This is a good setup for big turbo. I'm going to be running the same exact setup on my 7163 full race kit. So it's a good start and full point. I haven't had any issues with the 6 or 7 cars that I've tuned with this kit set up like that. So next what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to take the panels off inside the car next to the seat and the rear seat out of the car, so you can run the wires to the back pump and to the tank for the signal level. Alright, so I got the controller here. This is where it's mounted at. I have it, you run the harness to the bottom of it. It's actually tucked up underneath the dash here. once you set it, like I said earlier, you're never going to really mess with it unless you need to check the status light, which comes with 2-inch by 2-inch Velcro. This is just temporary here. It comes with Velcro to mount it up on the side, up against the side here, just behind the plastics. So once you get that all ran or mounted up there, you're going to want to run the wires to the back. So the wires that are going to be going to the back are going to be your power and negative for the pump, and your positive and negative for the level sending unit that goes on the side of the tank. So I already have the wires ran, but I'm going to show you how to take the plastic off here so you can run the wires and the meth feed tube yourself. So I use a plastic pry bar. You just go underneath the weather stripping here. You just kind of pop up. You can go along all the way down. And once you get it mostly off, it just snaps right off. So there's just there's 4 connectors, one here, sorry, 5, one here, one there, and one there, and they just snap in. So, like I said, I've already ran the wires. Already have the wires back here. White, pink, orange, and brown are going to be the wires ran back, and then you have your methanol feed tube, which is all tucked away. So there's 2 push pins for the carpet right here and right here. Make sure the seat's all the way up so you can reach them. You'll just use a pry bar like this or a flathead screwdriver and pop those out, and you can tuck the wires alongside there. So I'll grab the camera real quick and show you how I have it routed. So you have all your wires here, and then you have a feed tube here, which I actually have zip tied off to the harness that already exists. Can't really see, it's all tucked along the carpet and the plastic here, and then this is the exposed piece here, which will be covered up by the plastic you just removed. So I'll show you the back where the rest of the routing goes, and that should be pretty much it. Alright, so once you get the wires tucked underneath in the front plastic in the last clip, you're going to want to remove the side plastic in the back seats. I've already removed the seat and removed the plastic. It'd be kind of hard to get that on camera. There's really no way to get a camera mounted in the back while you're fumbling around and stuff, but it's pretty straightforward. The side plastics just pull off. There's no bolts or anything like that. You just grab it and go ahead and give it a good yank. There's 2 pins closest to the driver's door that are going to be pretty tough, but don't worry, you're not going to break it. Just go ahead and give it a good yank. But so the wires route from the front up here, and they route up over the support beam in the back, and they run down here. Now you have, this is the back seat folded down. You route it in the back here. So the wires are underneath. This is the trunk liner here. You're going to route it underneath that and into the trunk. So you can see I have them coming out right there. And I ran them all the way to the back. And that's your pump positive, pump negative, and your sending level or sending unit for the meth level on the tank itself. So you'll route those wires down to the pump that's mounted in the trunk here, and then you'll just route the wires up to the tank that'll be mounted in the back there. Here's another look at the back and the trunk where the wires are routed underneath the plastic or the trunk liner here. So they come up from up there and move their way in, come out here, and that's where you're going to run the rest of the wiring to the tank and to the pump. Alright, so now what I'm going to show you is how we're going to route all the wiring, the methanol feed tube, and the vacuum / boost hose from the engine bay to the car. So what you're looking at here is inside the wheel well, driver's side, with the wheel well fender liner removed. So I'll show you the fender liner here in a second, just kind of sitting off in the corner. But what you'll do is you'll just pretty much get the car up in the air. You'll look at the fender liner with the wheel off, and there's going to be push pins on the closest side of the fender, closest to you, and then there's just going to be push in pins that just need to be popped out, kind of one on the frame rail that's straight ahead if you're looking at the strut, and then you got one that is on the back side of it towards the cabin, and then you have one on the front side of it up by the fender towards the engine bay. So it's pretty simple. I'd show you how to take it off, but like I said, I'm sick and I'm trying to power through this here. So once you get the fender liner off, what you're going to be looking at is you're going to be looking at the factory pass-through harness. This goes from the engine bay into the driver's side of the cabin, right by the clutch pedal if you have a manual, and where there's nothing where you have an automatic. So what you're going to do, we'll get up in here, get focused in. All right. So what you'll do on yours, mine's already been modified. There is a little nipple here. It's kind of just capped off, kind of looks like a vacuum cap. What you'll do is just take a razor blade and chop it off. And then you pull this out with a flathead screwdriver. You can actually do it with your hands. And you'll just pull it out. Then you'll have access to it. There's actually already a hole in the backside too for everything to pass through. So what's going to be coming through here is going to be your boost hose, which needs to go to your throttle body spacer and your controller. And then you're going to have your, get refocused here, you're going to have your feed tube, which is this guy right here, the hard black guy, and then the red and the green wires from the controller. So what I did is I just tossed the controller on the floorboard of the driver's side just until you get everything wired up. So the green wire is your boost safe wire. We're going to wire that up later, and then the red one just goes directly to the battery, which we're actually going to tie into the fuse box. So that's all you need to do here. Once you get these routed through, you can kind of put the fender liner back in. I'd probably do it last just in case you need to make any adjustments back to front. And that's pretty much it. So I'll show you where I routed them up. I routed them on the right side of the fuel purge line, which is right there. Then once you get them up inside, I'll show you everything else is routed later in the video. Alright, so earlier in the video I showed you where to route the methanol feed line, the boost line, the red wire, and the green wire. So now this is where it comes out at, underneath the brake booster, just back here by the firewall. What I did is I routed these up along the inside of the intake manifold, and then along the top of the intake manifold. Might be a little hard to see, but we have a hard line here, boost source here, and both the red and the green wire. So I tucked them along the harness, along the side of the intake manifold and the valve cover. And the hard line, the boost line, will come down here to the throttle body. These are pretty straightforward. Cut to length, press in the methanol nozzle there, and then you got the boost source next to it. Then you have the red and green wire will fall along this harness. Which runs along the inside of the valve cover here, or the outside of the valve cover. This harness runs down by the factory blow-off valve. I have it disconnected now, which I will show you how to disconnect in the next section here. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to disconnect the main plug from the ECU. This is where we're going to tap in for the failsafe. It's going to run to the relay. So you have two connections here, one at the front of the fuse box. You have one at the front of the fuse box, and then you have the ECU, which is mounted below the fuse box. And you're going to be taking out the main connector, which is going to be the top one. It's pretty straightforward. What I usually do is I just pop the top connector out of its holder, and then press the button and pull it apart. So you have this connector out of the way. Then down here, bring it a little bit closer. Down here you have this gray flip here. You just press down the black connector and pull the gray bar back. This will disconnect the ECU. And you have this. Normally you have this cover on here. I have it off already just to show you how it disconnects. So this is normally on here like this. You have a zip tie, which you will just snip and pull out and put a new zip tie on it later. Now in order to get this off, there's 4 connectors on here. What I do is I use a very small flathead. I lift up on each tab and this will pop off. Next thing you want to do is you're going to want to unroute this you're going to want to unroute this from behind everything that it's connected to. So here's the red and green wire that I've already routed, and I just zip tied it and taped it to the main harness. You're going to want to get this and this connector out into an open area where you can work on it easier. Doing it right here is possible, but it's a little tight. I like to have it out in the open so it's easier to work with. So on this connector here, you have a connection at the factory blow-off valve, just a little plug you just unplug, which I'll show in a second. Then you just have a push pin that pushes into the factory charge pipe. So I'll unroute this and I'll show how everything is laid out. Alright, so we have it all unrouted here. As you can see, you have a lot more room to work with it. It's on the outside of everything. The camera's a little zoomed in. It's a really close lens, so it's hard to see everything in one shot. So anyways, this is the push pin connector that goes into the bracket that comes off the passenger side charge pipe. This is a connector for the factory blow-off valve. If you already have an aftermarket blow-off valve, this is already disconnected anyways. And then you just kind of disconnect it. There's a couple of connectors up here that mount to the valve cover. So I'm going to bring you out a little bit. So what we're going to be working with here is pin, I believe 87. If you look on your connector here, you're not going to be able to see it in the video. It's way too small. But you start at 1 here, and it stays on this side. So 1, and then all the way in the bottom corner is 75. And then it comes up here, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. And then you have 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, and then 86. 86 is the pin that we're going to be working with. So if you flip it over and you look on the inside here of 86, you'll have a yellow and violet wire. So this is your yellow and violet wire that you're going to be working with here. So there's normally, harness tape all the way back. I just peeled it back a couple inches just to get some room. And what you're going to do is you're going to snip this wire, and this is going to be your ECU wire that is going to be laid out in the pinout, which I will display in the video in a second. This is going to be connected to your relay. So next clip is going to be mounting the relay and showing the wires on it. There'll be a diagram. You don't really have to follow along as I'm explaining it in the next clip. You just follow the diagram that'll be posted at the end of the video for all the wiring. Now once you snip this and you route this to the relay, you can tuck this all away. Alright, so we're going to mount the relay. The relay comes with a mounting tab on it. So this is what you're going to be using to mount here. So on the passenger side firewall, there is a 8mm head bolt that is used to hold in a relay, or actually a harness. Let's break this free here. You got the bolt out, you can grab the relay. You mount it in front of the bracket, so put the bolt through the factory bracket. Make sure it's straight just so it looks nice. You don't want that looking booty in here. So now you got that mounted. So it's going to look, somewhat factory there because it's mounted off a factory bolt. I'll get the camera a little closer so you can see it. Alright, so we're looking at the relay here. You got 5 wires coming off it. This yellow wire is not going to be used. Once the failsafe kicks on from the controller, it'll actually switch continuity between the red and the blue wires. The red and the blue wires to the yellow wire, which you don't really need to power on for anything, so that's why it's not being used. So this is going to be your green wire will connect to the black wire. This is going to come from your AAM controller, so that'll connect to black. This is going to be straight battery, So we're going to route this to the battery terminal or off of the fuse box where there's three 12-volt sources there. And then these are the wires that are going to connect to your ECU wire that I just showed you how to find on the ECU plug. It's the yellow and violet striped wire coming through the ECU. So you'll snip that wire. You'll run one end to the blue wire and the other end to the red wire. It doesn't matter which one you connect them to. This has continuity when the relay is not activated. So when you get an error, the point of the boost safe hookup is you have a positive wire, positive coming in here. This is not active when the controller has 0 errors. When the controller gets an error for low fluid or low voltage or a problem with the pump, it'll throw ground here, activate the relay, and it'll disconnect these two wires. So when the relay is off, these are active. The ECU is reading the throttle input like normal. When the failsafe kicks on, here, activates the relay, disconnect these wires, now you have no pedal. Once you turn the switch off for the AM controller, it'll turn the relay off, and you'll just have these two wires back connected like normal and have normal operation of the vehicle. So I'll draw a diagram up and throw it at the end of the video. I'll also put a post up probably in Facebook and on the forums where you can just download the PDF of the diagram as well. All right, so we're underneath the driver's side dash now. What we're looking at here is the steering column support bracket. This is where you're going to be tying in your black ground wire. You should only have 2 wires left over from the methanol kit, and that's going to be your black ground, which is here, and then you're going to have your yellow switch wire. So what you're going to do is run the black wire from the harness, the controller. You're going to run it along this harness here on the firewall. You're going to use the eyelet that's supplied with the kit to ground it off to the stud here. Once you're done with that, we're going to move over to the switch. Now you're going to tie into this ground again. You're just going to strip some wire back and then run some new wire to the switch, so you supply a ground source to the switch, and then we're going to run the yellow wire up to the switch as well. So I'm going to go over that next. All right, so what we're looking at now is we're looking at the switch that is included in the kit here. So on the back you should have a sticker here that'll say earth on top, which would be this top terminal, load, which is the center terminal, and then supply, which is the bottom terminal. So included in the kit as well is going to be some blue terminals here. So this is going to be your switch to turn the methanol kit on and off. So to the top here, you're going to tap into the ground that I just showed you how to run underneath the dash. So you'll just tie into that, run a ground to this terminal here. And then the center one here is going to be your yellow wire from the controller. That should just come straight from the controller straight to here. And then the bottom one is going to be your 12-volt supply, which is going to be the red wire coming off the controller. So the red wire should be tapped into your battery. You can either run it straight to the battery, you can run it to the fuse box. I believe there's 3 posts there that you can tie into. So there's no instructions for mounting the switch itself. Reason for that is I'm leaving it up to the customer to figure out where they want to mount their switch. Some customers don't mind drilling into their car, popping off a plastic piece, one of the panels, either in front of the shifter, next to the shifter, underneath the start button. There's a black plate in between that you can tie into, or you can simply just zip tie underneath the dash and reach under and turn it off whenever you want if you don't want to drill or cut anything in your car. Another solution, which a couple other customers I mentioned it to and they seem interested in, is the storage compartment to the left of the steering wheel. So there's that push storage compartment that you pretty much use for nothing. Some people might throw some change in there, but if it's worth it to you, you can just route the wiring up into the little push out cubby hole and then put your switch in there. So you just basically grab it. This is going to be on, the blue LED will display, and this is going to be off. So I wanted to make a mount for the switch itself, but it would have to be 3D printed to mount it to where I wanted. It would just increase the cost of the kit by too much because it's a really complex piece. So I just figured, giving you a switch and mounting it to where you want, that way you're not forced to use the switch where I have it mounted, and then something that you pay for and then you don't end up using. Obviously it's not going to be good for you. So it's pretty simple hookup. I'm not going to run mine yet in the video. I still got a couple other things I need to do before I get to this point here, but that's pretty much how you wire it up. It's pretty straightforward. If you do have questions, obviously you can give me a shout on Facebook, give me a call, or drop me an email. Giving me a call or email is going to be your fastest response, especially if it's after hours. I usually don't answer Facebook messages after hours anymore, just because I've been sick. So that's pretty much it. This wraps up the kit. Like I said, if you do have questions, obviously get out to me. I kind of rushed through this video here just because I've been so damn sick for the past couple of weeks. So, I will mention that when you're doing this wiring for the switch and any additional wiring, you don't use the LED wire that comes off of the controller. So you can actually snip those at the controller, and you have pretty much 20 feet of wiring there that you can use for wiring up the switch. You're going to have a lot of ground strap left over. I got about 6 feet here, and they're going to have some yellow left over as well, because you're obviously not going to run the switch very far away from the driver's seat. So I will be doing another video here shortly that shows the methanol spraying through the spacer, just to show you how it atomizes. I'll also be doing another video tuning when I get my car all together. So I'll be installing a full race turbo kit along with their intercooler, their turbo back exhaust, and then I'll be running my meth kit on it. No additional fueling at all besides the meth kit, and I'll be shooting to make about 475 or 500 wheel horsepower on the stock block. So besides that, the only other videos that might be coming up are going to be some install videos for some suspension components that I might be coming out with here in the future. That's going to be another month away or so. Just some tie-down braces and possibly some springs for drag setups. And then I'll also be working with Velocitech again on another 3D printed part that will be for inside the cabin. So I'll probably post a sneak peek on that within the next couple of weeks. So if you have any questions, info@adamtune.com, or you can give me a call, 612-940-6431, or you can find me on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/500WHB.